Coming up on Lakefront News, the Olu Wellness Center is hiring, and a fire in the Texas Panhandle. Lakefront News starts now. Hello, and thank you for joining us at Lakefront News. I'm Dani Palacios. Early voting has come to a close March 1st, but don't worry, Saints, we got you covered. The Solstice Library will hold a joint Democratic-Republican primary election this Tuesday, March 5th. If you have any questions, please email Dr. Leda Barnett at lmbarnett@olusa.edu. The Olu Wellness Center welcomes Karen Darmata, Director of Counseling and Wellness Services. The Olu Wellness Center aims to promote a collaborative, holistic, and wraparound approach to student wellness. The Wellness Center is comprised of 3 offices: Accessibility Services, Counseling Services, and the Health Education Resource Office. Additionally, the Wellness Center often collaborates with other departments, including Olu Cares, Mission and Ministry, Center for Student Recovery, and Residence Life, to extend and incorporate wellness services across campus. Darmata will supervise the counselors, counseling interns, and the Wellness Center Office Coordinator. The Cesar Chavez Legacy and Educational Foundation, CCLEF, held a March for Justice press conference on the front steps of Sacred Heart Conventional Chapel, Wednesday, February 28th. The theme for the 28th annual Cesar E. Chavez March for Justice is Let the Spirit Flourish and Grow. The march began at 9 a.m. on March 23rd at the corner of South Brazos and Guadalupe Street, next to the Guadalupe Theater.
I'm really glad that they continue this tradition. It's been a long-standing tradition we've been doing for 20 and 30 years. I think Mr. Chavez has really done a lot, especially for his community, and to really see it just prosper and continue with this tradition. It's going to really showcase a lot.
Last year's march featured the Castro family, alumna and former City Councilwoman Rosie Castro, Congressman Joaquin Castro, and former U.S. Housing Secretary Julian Castro as Grand Marshals. Let's all support the March for Justice. Si se puede, Saints. Houston's police chief announced thousands of sexual assault cases were suspended due to staffing issues going on back in 2016. Those cases were filed under a specific departmental code that Finner, when he first learned about it, said he first learned about in 2021. At the time, he said he asked Special Victims Unit to stop using the code. But early this month, he learned they never did.
Therefore, each sexual assault incident reporting back to 2016 that has this code will be reviewed.
Finner made it clear the code is no longer in use and an internal investigation has been launched. Finner now beefing up the Special Victims Unit with 32 people. Houston's police chief says the department's Special Victims Division has already reviewed more than 700 of the suspended cases. A record meth bust at the border. U.S. Customs and Border Protection says officers see 6.5 tons of methamphetamine valued at $117 million in a single enforcement action February 25th. The agency says it's the largest meth seizure recorded at the port of entry. The seizure happened at the Camino Real International Bridge between Mexico and Texas. A CBP field operations officer referred a tractor-trailer for secondary inspection. The rig's manifest was for piglet drying agents. A spokesman for Homeland Security Investigations says the seizure kept the drugs from making it to Houston, saving an untold number of lives. In a vibrant fusion of art and sports culture, the Southside welcomes a unique installation inspired by the Spurs rookie Victor Wembanyama. Drawing inspiration from the iconic Prada Marfa, a miniature Louis Vuitton store now graces the intersection of South Florida Street and East Lambert Street. Louis Vuitton proudly introduces Wembanyama as their newest ambassador for the brand. The installation showcases the rookie in Louis Vuitton attire on the door's window. The building is also adorned with the hashtag Southtown Culture and Southtown SA, Texas. The new installation has brought some buzz, especially with the local San Antonio community.
Well, I definitely think that Victor Wembanyama pairing up with Louis Vuitton is an incredible partnership, not only because he's a French renowned basketball player, but also because I do know that he is expected to represent the 2024 Paralympics, so that might change up the scene in a really, really good way.
There is no set date on whether the installation will be used in the future. As of now, it will remain empty, with only the player being the major focus of the installation. In North Texas, a frantic video of cattle galloping as fast as they can against a backdrop of black smoke billowing from one of at least 5 wildfires. The people recording also running for their lives. Some of the flames have jumped into neighboring Oklahoma. The explosive growth of the fires since Monday led to a brief evacuation of a nuclear weapons facility. A site was tasked with assembling and disassembling the nation's nuclear arsenal. Employees returned Wednesday. But many residents from the Texas Panhandle communities of Canadian and Fritch are seeking safety elsewhere.
We all were wondering, what is this? What's going to happen? Are we going to be able to return? Is there going to be anything to return to?
Texas A&M Forest Service adds that firefighters will try to take advantage of Wednesday's weather, a calmer day with lighter winds and higher humidity. Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued a disaster declaration for 60 counties in the state. This comes as wildfires are threatening panhandle towns and forcing residents to evacuate. According to the Texas A&M Forest Service, the Smokehouse Creek fire has burned more than 250,000 acres of land since Monday. Governor Abbott also advocated additional state emergency resources to support firefighters responding to multiple wildfires. Evacuation orders were issued for parts of Hemphill and Roberts counties, including the town of Canadian. Texans are being encouraged to make an emergency plan and follow directions from officials. A U.S. Air Force member has died after setting himself on fire in protest outside the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. D.C. Metro Police says on Sunday, Aaron Bushnell poured an unknown liquid on himself and ignited it, yelling, "Free Palestine." The 25-year-old from Texas eventually collapsed, while police tried to put out the flames with fire extinguishers. Bushnell was taken to the hospital, where he later died. In a video obtained by CNN, he said he would, quote, no longer be complicit in genocide. D.C. Police, Secret Service, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives are investigating. Stay with us. Stay with us. Coming up next, a look at your sports news with Leah Gaetan.
Welcome back, and now look at Olu Sports. Most women know the phrase mansplaining, when a man explains something to a woman when he assumes she doesn't know something out of superiority. That's exactly what happened to a woman when a guy tried to mansplain how she should improve her swing. Little did he know this was a PGA player, Georgia Ball, a British golf coach. The man explains he's been playing golf for 20 years and explains to Ball that she was swinging too low. But Ball bit her tongue, and then when she took a second swing, he took credit for that swing. When Ball posted the video on Instagram, she received comments defending her and some defending the man. Ball speaks on this interaction. Whether you see the interaction as a man mansplaining or as just a man offering some helpful advice, it's sure to say the interaction was ironic. The Olu Saints drumline, cheer, and dance teams geared up to compete in the Dance Team Union's Regional Championship on March 4th. This was a virtual competition where the Saints will submit a recording of their game day routines, which involve cheer, dance, and the drumline program all together. They showcase their new skills and spirit with supportive coaches and teammates cheering them on. and results of the competition will be posted today, March 4th, on the Saints Athletics website. The Our Lady of the Lake baseball team took 2 of 3 Red River Athletic Conference RRAC games against the University of Houston Victoria UHV on February 24th and 25th. The Saints won the opener 6-1, the third game 5-1, and lost the second contest 9-4. The Saints jumped to 9-8 overall and 3-3 in the RRAC. The Jaguars dropped to 9 and overall 2-4 in conference. Saints first baseman Jack Kalinske drove in 3 runs with a double and triple in the first game to support Devin Benavidez, who threw 8 scoreless innings, striking out 7 and scattering 7 hits. Olu center fielder Brandon Betancourt drove in 2 runs in the third game, while Christian Bettis notched the win and struck out 5 batters in 4 innings. Congratulations, Saints. On February 24th, the Texas Longhorns played against the Kansas Jayhawks. Hunter Dickinson scored 20 points, KJ Adams had 16, and number 9 Kansas beat Texas 86-67 on Saturday night. All 5 Kansas starters scored in double figures as Johnny Furphy contributed 16, DeJuan Harris had 14, and Nicholas Timberlake scored 13. NBA coach Steve Kerr has set another record, but this time it's off the court. His representative confirmed Kerr and the Golden State Warriors agreed to a 2-year, $35 million contract extension on February 23rd. That makes him the highest annually paid NBA coach in history. His contract was set to expire after this season. The new deal puts his in line with guard Stephen Curry's contract, who has 2 years remaining after this season. Kerr has led the Warriors to 4 championships and 6 conference titles. On the San Antonio Spurs' head coach Greg Popovich makes more per year, but he is also serving as the president of the franchise. Grammy-winning DJ Khaled went toe-to-toe with Charles Barkley in a par 3 head-to-head golf contest. Khaled went into the match against Barkley with an over-the-top ensemble of gloves, clubs, and towels reading "We the Best." Starting the match, Barkley won the first hole and claimed his victory, but Khaled went in for a rematch, claiming victory and then another one after. Khaled stated after the win that it was the easiest game he had ever played in his whole career. One of Formula One's most successful team principals has been cleared of any wrongdoing. Red Bull leader Christian Horner was accused of inappropriate behavior toward a racing team member. The 50-year-old denied the allegations. Red Bull GmbH launched an independent investigation into the claims earlier this month and now says the matter has been dismissed. Horner took charge of the Red Bull in 2005 and has overseen 7 drivers' championships since then. The next Formula One season starts Saturday in Bahrain. It was a race ran in love. On Sunday, February 25th, a man and his girlfriend both competed in Las Vegas's Rock and Roll Running Series. The man crossed the finish line first and waited for his girlfriend to complete her race. But then the surprising moment came. The man got down on one knee and proposed. She said yes. They exchanged a kiss and off they ran. Authorities in Philadelphia are investigating a shooting that left an NBA G League basketball player injured. The shooting happened on the night of February 25th outside of a bar. The family of 23-year-old Long Island Nets star Terry Roberts says he was hit in the upper chest by a stray bullet. His mother says he will survive. He was taken off a ventilator on February 26th. Police say 4 people fled the scene of the shooting in a gray Nissan Altima. No arrests have been made. The shooting is under investigation. Coming up next, a look at your health news.
Welcome back. Now, a look at your health news. A Houston man is sharing an unusual and frightening story, and the medical diagnosis it ultimately led to. When Franklin Arribeana was working out one day, he took a big gulp of ice-cold water and almost died due to heart failure. He had already been to the hospital more than 20 times in 15 years for chest pain, but never knew the reason until the last major episode. He connected the dots and explained the triggers to the doctors. They decided the cold water was triggering a condition called atrial fibrillation, or AFib. It's when the heart beats out of rhythm. Arabiana had heart surgery and hasn't been to the hospital since, although he still has to take medication. Indiana's ban on transition care for minors is in effect. This comes after an appeals court in the state issued a stay on the ruling from a district court on February 27th that blocked parts of the law last year. The legislation, called SEA 480, prohibits doctors from performing gender-based treatments on young boys and girls, including hormone therapy and puberty-blocking drugs. Republican Governor Eric Holcomb signed the measure in April 2023, and shortly thereafter, the ACLU sued to stop the law. Officials with the ACLU issued a statement on the appeals court's ruling, calling it, quote, beyond disappointing. A new study links air pollution to signs of Alzheimer's disease. According to the study, people who inhale higher concentrations of small airborne particles, such as exhaust from vehicles, are more likely to have signs of disease in their brains. The research also found a strong link between pollution and signs of Alzheimer's for people who were not already genetically predisposed to the disease. The study was done using tissue from more than 200 donors in the Atlanta area who had volunteered to donate their brains to research before their deaths. Donors who lived in areas with high levels of traffic-related air pollution had more Alzheimer's-related plaques in their brains than donors who lived in areas with lower air pollution. New data shows a surprising trend among U.S. smokers. They're turning from cigarettes to smoke-free alternatives like vapes at a faster than expected rate. According to the maker of Marlboro, cigarette share the U.S. nicotine industry fell to 60% last year. That's down from 80% just 5 years earlier. If that trend continues, it will only take 3 more years for cigarettes to make up less than half of the nation's nicotine sales. This comes amid a growing number of nicotine alternatives, including oral nicotine pouches, and illicit disposable vapes, the fastest growing nicotine products in the U.S. last year. Other reasons for the decline in cigarette sales are higher prices and reduced shelf space for cigarettes, as retailers make room for all the smoke-free alternatives. Millions of people use treadmills every day, but did you know more Americans are injured by them than any other piece of exercise equipment? According to the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission, they're in gyms and homes across the U.S., but this piece of exercise equipment can be dangerous.
Treadmills are a great way to get in some exercise, but if you're using them improperly, then that's when the injuries can occur.
In the latest data from 2019, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission says there were more than 22,000 treadmill injuries treated in the hospital emergency rooms across the country. Typical injuries include slips, sprains and strains, concussions, broken bones, and in very rare cases, death. Experts say to wear proper footwear for traction and secure the treadmill safety key to your shirt. If you happen to stumble or fall, the key will immediately turn the machine off. Straddle the belt before stepping on, starting at a slow speed. When you're done, make sure the belt has stopped before stepping off. A group of children battling cancer got a Disney-sized treat with a behind-the-scenes look at Disney on Ice. The magic of Disney spreading big smiles on the faces of children battling cancer. Patients from the Jimmy Fund Clinic at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute and their siblings made their way down the red carpet at TD Garden, dressed as their favorite Disney characters. These VIP guests got a special invitation to Disney's On Ice production, Magic and the Stars. The night was all about having fun for these young patients who've been facing a tough battle.
It's just a nice little break from treatment. You know, the Dana-Farber, the Jimmy Fund do things like this often for us, and it's nice for the kids to kind of forget about treatment.
Performers say the kids' stories will inspire them out on the ice, all to forget about the real world for a little while. Disney's characters on ice have more shows scheduled in incoming dates in the US and Canada. It can lead to great success, but also a fear of failure. Perfectionism is defined as a personality trait. When a person sets an unreasonably high standards, and has unrealistic expectations for themselves. It's often coupled with intense self-criticism. Psychotherapist Jody Baumstein says children and teens need to hear that nobody's perfect, and there's no expectation for them to be either.
It really drives us into a place of constantly pushing to the point of extreme stress and overwhelm and burnout.
But she says parents need to remember the same. Parents can also help by focusing on a child's effort, not the outcome. Finally, Baumstein states that parents should talk about the difference between I'm failed and I'm a failure. Whether it's smoking, vaping, or eating, any use of marijuana has been linked to a higher risk of heart attack and stroke. According to a new study, daily users had a 42% higher risk of stroke and a 25% higher risk of heart attack. Meanwhile, non-daily users also had an increased risk, but it wasn't as high. The study, published in the Journal of American Heart Association, analyzed the data on 430,000 adults from 2016 through 2020. About 10% reported using marijuana. A majority of them said smoking was their most common form of consumption. The American Heart Association advises people not to smoke or vape any substance because of the potential harm to the heart, lungs, and blood vessels. Researchers at the University of North Carolina say they have made a groundbreaking discovery that could help the millions of Americans with Alzheimer's disease. It has been 11 months since Carter Grine learned he has Alzheimer's and primary progressive aphasia. Grine is 59 and was diagnosed in the early stages, making him a prime candidate for lecanemab. The drug was only approved within a month of his diagnosis, and it's the only drug on the market which slows the progression of Alzheimer's rather than only targeting the symptoms. One of those working to help patients like Grine by finding a cure is Ronit Freeman. She and her team at UNC announced a groundbreaking discovery about the way a protein in the brain, which causes Alzheimer's, forms.
All the proteins on our body is like a left hand. They have a twist that goes to the left side. But in Alzheimer's, you get structures that are twisting the other way.
The hope is that further studies could reveal a way to essentially untwist the fibers and break down the amyloid plaque, reversing the impacts of Alzheimer's. Though the lab's research is still in its early stages, findings like it give over 6 million Americans living with Alzheimer's, like Grine, hope. Coming up next, a look at your consumer news. Attention all Swifties, a museum in London is seeking to hire a Taylor Swift superfan. The Victoria and Albert Museum wants someone to advise their curators to explain Taylor's importance to the history of art and design. The superfan should be able to offer insights to the culture and artistry found around friendship bracelets that Swifties often exchange, as well as the handmade signs frequently displayed at concerts. The museum did not disclose the salary, but administrators say they will cover a reasonable travel cost and a museum membership. Besides Swifties, the museum is also looking for superfans of Crocs, drag, emojis, and tufting. The museum has already recruited experts in Lego, Pokemon, Gopcore, and Toby Jugs. You listen to Taylor Swift?
I actually don't. So I'm not a Swiftie fan, but if I could go to London for a job dedicated to Taylor Swift, I would totally do it.
You ever been to London?
No, that's why I would go. That's why I would take the job.
Have you ever been to Europe?
No. Have you? You sound like you have.
No.
See, would you take the job?
I'm not the one going for the job, though. I don't know actually anything about Taylor Swift, but my roommate does a lot.
I know, just sneak your roommate with you, and she could do the job while you're like in
I just
London.
go in a luggage.
Yeah, but still, Taylor Swift, that's a really great job occupation. I would do it just for the experience.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We all love Girl Scout cookies, but it turns out they're creating a bit of a rivalry. The Scouts have had a cookie booth outside of Kendra Scott at the Townie Lake Center in Cypress, Texas, but this year they've moved out of the shopping center. The problem is now there is another cookie store here, Crumble Cookies. Crumble is very close to where the Scouts used to set up. According to the Town Lake Center, it's common for tenants to have clauses in their leases that keep others from selling products that directly compete with their business. Our Lady of the Lake student, Daylin Mann, gives her opinion on the tension.
I do believe that Crumble has a, ground to stand on. I mean, like, they are competing with business, and unfortunately, even though it is for a good cause, I do get why they are kind of upset about it. You're selling the same product, and your little girl, so you're gonna get more attention that way. So I get what they're saying.
The center's marketing manager goes on to say that the center wholeheartedly supports Girl Scouts, but they still cannot sell cookies on their property. You ever tried crumble cookie or no?
You're gonna be so mad, but I have not tried crumble yet.
I haven't either, I'll be honest, so I'm not mad.
I don't hear a lot of good things about crumble. And I don't think
seen
it's
it around.
Yeah, I don't think it's as popular in Texas, if anything.
Actually, then, favorite Girl Scout cookie flavor?
I like the Samoas.
I like Thin Mints.
Thin Mints? Thin Mints are a classic, but Samoas I was introduced to after Thin Mints. Now it's my favorite now. But some people just don't like the coconut shavings, but I don't know. You learn to love it.
I mean, fair enough. It's a bit like too hard, I don't know why.
I love Samoas. I could eat a whole box all by myself. What's your second favorite though?
Second favorite.
I know, now you have to suddenly remember all the Girl Scout cookies.
Now I have to remember all the Girl Scout cookies. Why would you do this to me?
I'm sorry. There is a lot, but it's better for them to sell.
Fair enough. Don't they have a lemon one?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Probably that one.
And they're always like in front of an H-E-B selling cookies too. So they like, it's hard to resist once you're about to go grocery shopping just to grab some.
Or when you come out and you have to see the kids' faces.
Yeah.
They were here in the hallway actually one time too.
Oh my gosh, and they were at school?
And they were at school. They're coming everywhere. They're
if I
be
see
your
them
walls.
at school, I definitely would fall for it, and because I always cash on me too.
Fair, honestly. Next up, a Canadian student, Tim Chen, found a unique solution to Vancouver's high rent prices. Instead of renting in the city, he commutes by plane from his home in Calgary to the University of British Columbia, saving significant costs. Chen pays $150 for a round-trip flight twice a week, totaling $1,200 per month, which is half of the average rent of a room in Vancouver. This unconditional approach allows him to focus on studies while avoiding the challenges of Vancouver's competitive rental market costs.
I thought, why don't I just stay at Calgary and then just fly here? When I checked the house price, I was like, oh shoot, that was a big increase. I got 3 hours of class in total. After the class, I jump back to the bus and go back to the airports.
Vancouver continues to lead the way as Canada's most expensive city for renters, while finding a place to rent is even more difficult with just a 0.9% vacancy. Chen focus on his studies from the air. Chen says it's a routine that gives him time to study and focus on his studies from the air.
Okay, so I'm thinking if Chen is, like, this is his major, he's probably crunched the numbers himself, thinking this is what is gonna save him money, but I don't know if it's really accurate. I wouldn't also fly to school. I am a commuter now, so I don't even like driving to school, much less flying.
Where would he park his plane?
That too, you would have to fly and drive to the campus. So I really don't think it's worth the trouble.
Is there like an airport nearby, or does he like do like the helicopters they do with the hospital and they land on top of the building?
Yeah, maybe it's like a small private plane. That's so much trouble, even not including like school costs and your class schedule, professors' homework. Ugh, that just stresses me out. I can't imagine being the student going to class and getting on a plane every day.
I don't know if it would be harder or worse, but at least you don't have to deal with traffic. February 22nd, AT&T announced service has been restored to all customers after thousands reported cell service outages. More than 64,000 customers reported issues with placing calls, texting, or accessing the internet. according to tracker site Down Detector. Some Verizon and T-Mobile customers have also reported disruption, but both companies say their networks aren't experiencing an outage. It's likely that customers have had issues trying to connect to those on the AT&T network. They say it appears to be related to how cellular services hand off calls from one network to the next. An industry source says there's no indication the outage was caused by a cyber attack or other malicious activity. Do you use AT&T?
I do. Do you?
I have T-Mobile.
Was yours? Did yours like suddenly like break out too during?
I don't think so.
And even I have AT&T, but I didn't have service for maybe 2 hours, and that was it. But some people didn't even have Wi-Fi either. So that's why I'm relieved that there's like a credible source that said it wasn't a cyber attack, but I just didn't have like cell service.
To be fair, I'm kind of used to Olu's Wi-Fi kind of chopping in and out here and there, so it's not that much of a bother to me if it's slow as long as it works.
Yeah,
like,
same.
Sometime this year.
So it's very common. You get used to these kind of outages as a student here, but I have AT&T and I didn't really experience that much trouble.
Former President Trump, his adult sons, and 2 former Trump Organization officials are appealing the $464 million civil fraud judgment against them. Friday, February 16th, Judge Arthur Engoron issued judgment in the New York Attorney General's case. The former president is personally on the hook for $454 million, including interest payments. Earlier this month, they were found liable for fraud, conspiracy, and issuing false financial statements. They were accused of inflating the value of real estate assets to get more favorable loan and insurance rates. The Trumps filed a notice of appeal with the court on February 28th, the first business day after the official judgment. The Environmental Protection Agency is considering slowing down requirements for automakers to sell more electric vehicles. The move could dial back aggressive plans to move away from gas-powered cars and SUVs. EV sales in the U.S. hit a record last year, topping 1 million for the first time. However, industry insiders say there are a few factors still holding back sales, including higher prices, the lack of public charging stations, and general confusion about the substantial tax credits available for buyers. Multiple media outlets report Apple has abandoned a decade-long effort to build self-driving electric car. Bloomberg reports many employees working on the project will be moved to the company's artificial intelligence division. Electric vehicle sales have been disappointing in the U.S., prompting several major manufacturers to pull back on investments. Apple never confirmed the long-running speculation it would make an EV, but it had taken several steps over the past 10 years that suggested it was serious about its car efforts. Internally, it was called Project Titan. Apple has not publicly commented on reports for pulling the plug on the project. Walmart consumers who bought certain weighted groceries or bagged fruit may be eligible for part of a $45 million settlement. The class action lawsuit claimed Walmart overcharged customers who purchased groceries sold by weight. According to the suit, the company inflated product weight, mislabeled bagged produce weight, and overcharged for clearance items. Customers who bought eligible sold-by-weight groceries from Walmart between October 19, 2018 and January 19, 2024 qualify for the settlement. Walmart shoppers have until June 5th to submit a claim to be included and can get 2% of what they spent on covered products, capped at $500. It was not a world of pure imagination, more like a world of disappointment. Willie's Chocolate Experience at an event space in Glasgow, Scotland, was marketed as an immersive experience like Van Gogh the Immersive Experience. It promised optical marvels and extraordinary props, but attendees were let down by a sparsely decorated warehouse that didn't match the ad. The event advertised chocolate fountains, performances by Oompa Loompas, and interactive experiences for $44. One father said kids received 2 jelly beans each and a quarter cup of lemonade, and there was no chocolate. It was scheduled for last Saturday and Sunday, but facing disappointed families, organizers canceled it Saturday afternoon. The event organizer, the House of Illuminati, said they recognized the event was a disappointment and they should have canceled it sooner. The organizer apologized and offered full refunds. Thank you for tuning in to Lakefront News. Visit us online at lakefront.olu.com.